Hi there, everybody. This is just a casual Sunday night roundup of news for my regular subscribers. And just a couple of things that I thought were important. They're on my getter there, so let's just have a look. The first was this rather interesting picture here. And here we've got the headline to this was The Economist have finally found a war they don't like. And here they've got all the covers. You know, they were totally gung-ho about all Obama's wars. They were really keen to get rid of Assad. They thought the case for war with Saddam was fully justified, of course, because they bought into WMD. You see Gaddafi, they were quite happy for him to be, rather unedifying end he had. Oh, but suddenly now this war is, well, totally different. New attitude. I don't know how so many people don't see it. It's totally clear that the Ukrainian people are being used as pawns. They are egging on this war by leading people in the West to believe that Ukraine is winning and that Zelensky is a hero, when all they're doing is using Ukraine as a tool of American hegemony or the cabal's hegemony. It's become a vassal state of Democrat corruption. They've got two purposes for it. It's all the corruption and to bring Russia down so Russia can be in the same situation as they were under Yeltsin, down on the floor, down and out, being robbed, being raped, being bankrupted. And I strongly feel Russia is a piece of the puzzle that's not fully in the puzzle yet. Maybe Putin was at one stage semi-on board. I even feel Julian Assange was at one stage semi-on board. But sometimes people do turn and do maybe just start to question and want to do their own thing, or maybe go against the narrative. And I think Putin's a little bit there. I'm not saying he's perfect or anything. We have to consider the possibility that he is bad, because at the end of the day, these policies are advancing. You will own nothing and you will be happy very, very quickly because of the massive cost of living, which is going to lead to many people losing their homes and owning nothing, unfortunately. So this whole war with Ukraine is advancing the food shortages, it's advancing the kind of eugenics agenda, and it's advancing the financial agenda of total control and digital currency. So if we see it from that way, maybe Putin is playing along, but on the other hand, maybe he isn't, and that's why they're kind of panicking. But as they panic more, they get more desperate. Let's have a look at this. Now, there was a military analyst. One of these analysts, he's a former military guy, and he was on the radio station LBC in the UK, which is mainstream. Used to listen to it, not anymore. They've just gone totally the wrong direction. And there was a guy on there saying that Western nations should prepare their people for a long-term drop in living standards if the standoff with Russia continues, as Britain's former Assistant Chief of Defence Staff Jonathan Shaw has said. He said, "We in the West have the wrong mentality about the conflict in Ukraine." Now, he was one of British Army's most senior officers, and he was speaking on talk radio LBC on Saturday. I headlined that virtue signalling has a high price. I think they're trying to let people know now that this isn't fun and games. This isn't just, oh, we'll ban Russia from this and we'll help Ukraine to get into the World Cup by getting rid of Scotland and Wales, and we'll, get rid of Russia out of Eurovision. This isn't a game. It's going to have real life consequences, devastating consequences for many people in Europe, in Britain, could even put us a big bullseye on our towns and cities if they let this go too far. And with Biden being indiscreet, talking openly about, oh, we need to get rid of Putin, and then everyone's trying to Blinken and everyone's trying to row it back, oh, no, he didn't mean it, he misspoke, or whatever he did, it's out there. Plus, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I recommend you all go to UK Columns Friday broadcast, because they did an excellent thing on what happened with the prank call of two Russian DJs who managed, unbelievably, to get into a conversation with Britain's Minister of Defence, Ben Wallace. He was in a car travelling in Poland. He not only took the call, he put his face on video. They didn't put their faces on video. They said, they were pretending to be the Prime Minister of Ukraine, which is not Zelensky, he's the president. It's Dennis Schmitzel, or Dennis something with an S. They were pretending to be this Dennis Schmitzel, whatever his name is, the Prime Minister of Ukraine, having a long conversation with the British Defence Minister, who has no clue it's a prank call. Can you believe this even happens in this day and age, that pranksters get through to the Defence Secretary? And he reveals everything. He reveals that Britain are supplying the Ukrainians with what do they call them? Not Springer. It's a weapon made in Belfast, and it can be used at night against aircraft. It's something with an S, a Stinger. They're supplying the Ukrainian army with Stinger missiles that can be used at night to bring down aircraft. They're going to supply Ukraine with a certain amount of tanks, and then he laughingly admits, oh, we don't have any left because we sent them all to you, ha ha ha. Then he admits that there's big supply chain shortages in the British army, that they can't even get more of these tanks or get more made. He then admits that they're going to be sending some sort of frigate or navy vessel into the Black Sea during the second phase. Oh, so we now know there's going to be a second phase because he's admitted this in the prank call. Then he talks about there being two routes with which they are smuggling arms into Ukraine, and that the Ukrainian, he mentions the government department that know which routes these are, and he says one is being closed down, but because he mentions the branch of Ukraine that know about this route, he makes it totally obvious that the Russians now know to go and find out where this route is. Then the pranksters say, oh, we want to be a nuclear power. And he's like, yeah, great. What's the problem? Let's move on with it. So he's obviously backing that. And then they sort of saying that even if they're not allowed to join NATO, he kind of gives this tacit agreement that the Britain are still going to arm Ukraine and are going to smuggle arms into Ukraine no matter what happens. So he's basically laid out the fact that Britain are almost at war with Russia because they are physically arming Ukraine. And this was a prank call. And he revealed all that. And these people in control, it's laughable. I want to do a video on that because there's some more information there. But I want to end on this. There was a big Trump rally in Georgia. Matt Gaetz has promised to nominate President Trump as Speaker of the House in January to replace Pelosi. So it's widely expected that the Republicans will win the Senate and the House in the upcoming midterms. And that means that Republicans can appoint the Speaker, which would make it Donald Trump, which means he's third in command. Which, given kind of how iffy Biden is, and that everyone can't stand Kamala and she's totally incapable, Pelosi is currently third in command. If the Republicans control the Senate and the House, and they appoint Trump Speaker of the House, he's third in command. Quite crazy, isn't it? So he's never really gone away. He's still there or thereabouts. Very interesting.